Hello Internet, my name is the Golden Stalfos, and today might be a little spicy. So in previous videos I've talked a little bit about communism and why I think it's doomed to fail. I believe that a system without any sort of state can't sustain itself indefinitely. Not because I think that states as they currently exist are a good thing, they're definitely not, but rather because a system without a state has no way to exist. Like there's no structure to keep it from moving into a different direction. And the different direction it will move into is inevitably a concentration of power, which sucks. Even if ANCOMs get their wish and everything breaks down into small communities that are managed completely by vote of every member of the community, what happens if one family in that community happens to make up 20-30% of the community and they all vote together every time? What happens if having that level of influence over your community gives you some sort of control over a resource that the community needs, and then you can use that resource to bribe other community members into voting with you? And oh look, how do you stop things like that from happening? Well, you have a state with rules that are enforced. And this is why I don't think that communism, or especially anarcho-communism, will ever work long term, because eventually someone will find a way to concentrate some power, because some asshole always finds a way to concentrate some power, and then if there's no powerful organization in place to stop them, you just get fucked. Your whole system breaks down and turns into feudalism or some shit. And you can't say, oh, well, absent of current systemic motivators to concentrate power, why would anyone try? And the answer is because people are greedy sometimes. Not all people all the time, but like some people some of the time. Obviously bad things don't always happen. Bad people don't always come up and do bad things, but in any system there will be people who want to do bad things, and if there's nothing to stop them, then they will. So when I say that a state is necessary for a system to continue to exist, what I'm saying is that there needs to be some built-in, thoroughly maintained framework for guaranteeing people's rights and protections and making sure that the rules of the system remain in place and aren't subverted in some way. And for the sake of fairness, all of the rules and such of that system should be outlined somewhere in a document that people can read if they want. You might even go so far as to call that document a constitution. Now, does that mean that the organization overseeing the continuation of the system needs to have power or be able to concentrate power in its own right? No, absolutely not. It shouldn't. In fact, the duty of maintaining the system should probably fall upon a couple of different organizations that, counterbalance each other and keep any of the other ones from concentrating power. Now, that kind of thing is easy to say and dream of, but in practice, you end up with America, which sucks. I fully recognize that. But also, America wasn't actually built to hold to those ideas. It just sort of pretended it was. But the fact remains that if we're going to cast off all of our current problems and move on to something better, we have to have something set up to make sure that we never regress back to our current problems. Or develop new, equally bad problems. So when I say that a system needs a state in order to exist, that's what I'm saying. There needs to be some people whose job is making sure things don't fall apart, making sure that people don't get away with violating each other's rights, making sure that no one is able to concentrate enough power that they just change the way the system works, either implicitly or explicitly, making sure that if anyone finds some sort of loophole to subvert the rules, that gets fixed so that no one's allowed to do that anymore. Making sure that the protections and the good things that people are supposed to have under the system actually get had, instead of just saying, it'll probably work. One thing I've never really understood about political discussions is people seem dedicated to a specific cause, to a specific ideology or whatever. I never understood that. Why do you give a shit what ideology people have? What you should care about, the only thing you should care about, is making sure that people's lives are as good as they possibly can be. And to that end, I kind of understand things like oh, our current system is bad, so here's an alternative system that might be better. But those alternative systems are always built around fixing whatever the current problem with the current system is, instead of completely being focused around making people's lives as good as they could be. Like, socialism is better than capitalism, for sure, no question. But is it the best thing that we could possibly be doing for making people's lives good? Probably not. I mean, it certainly wasn't built around that idea. So when I say we should restructure things and create a system that's built around protecting people and making sure that they have what they need to live, I'm not saying that just because I think it would be cool. I'm saying that because that's what you have to do in order to make people's lives as good as they can be. You have to build your system around the idea of making people's lives better. And quite frankly, I don't really care if that means that certain structures that some people disagree with have to exist, because as long as it makes people's lives good, it's worth it. And please understand that this does mean that a lot of stuff will just completely have to be changed. Like, for example, we currently live in a world where whether or not you get to eat is determined based on how much work you do. And also, because people need to work in order to eat, there's a lot of people who go to jobs they don't want or that don't need to be done at all just so they can afford to eat. And when we talk about restructuring labor, we normally just talk about how companies are organized. But what I'm talking about is, why the fuck do we have labor in the first place? Automate everything and let people do what they fucking want with their time instead of going to shitty jobs they hate. And in that context, where people aren't working because there's no more work for them to do, at least not in a lot of fields, it doesn't make sense to classify people as workers and talk about workers' rights because no one goes to work anymore. We shouldn't forever live in this dystopian nightmare where you have to toil in order to live. And when we move on to that system, where there's enough to go around and people can just, get things that they need, we're still going to need some level of organization, some level of making sure that things get where they need to be, some level of making sure that there's enough robots working on this particular thing, and the people who manage that organizing, they're a state, aren't they? Like that's what a government is, or should be at least. A government shouldn't be a system for consolidating power, but rather a system for managing the things that have to be managed, enforcing the rules that have to be enforced. In theory, that could be automated. I mean, probably it would still need some human oversight because you don't want everything to be managed by an algorithm, but that's what I want. I want a future where we all live as good a life as we can, and the system is built around that and also reinforces that and also is protected so that it will last for generations upon generations, and everyone will be able to live as good a life as possible forever instead of just, for right now. Well, anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next life. Laters. Hey, Endcard here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Seriously though, please subscribe. I have no subscribers. It's sad. If you want to find me on other social media stuff, you can do that at the Golden Stalfos on basically everything. Links to that are in the description, as well as to some charities I like but am obviously not affiliated with. I also have a Patreon if you like me so much that you want to give me money, though obviously only do that if you have money to burn, and if you do have money to burn, they're the charities I mentioned before. They probably need it more than I do. Mad ups to my girlfriend for doing all the editing for these videos. It's a really big help. Oh, and I occasionally stream on Twitch, so follow me there so you don't miss it. I don't have a formal schedule because when I tried to have a formal schedule, I couldn't keep to it. So, oh well. Okay, thanks, bye!